Well, hello everyone. Now this is my first attempt at making cedar shakes. So cedar shakes are handmade roofing tiles. If they're sawn on the mill, they're usually called shingles. And these ones are cut by hand. And I'm just right now going to try for my very first time to make some, to see what the process is like. You know, initially when you learn a new skill, it's quite difficult, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And the reason why I want to make cedar shakes is because from an environmental standpoint, then this is absolutely the best choice for the retreat. And as you know, then I want to build a permaculture hermitage here. Now I know these days many people think that climate crisis is a hoax, and they get angry even if you mention it. This will be to our future detriment, 100%. And in the future, people will look down on us and either laugh at us or pity us for our lack of awareness and foresight. But there's nothing we can do about that. In fact, people claim that the cause of the LA wildfires is in fact environmental consciousness. And so Donald Trump wants to blame it on some attempt to preserve the smelt fish, whatever that's all about. Of course, it's all lies. It's just a way of putting off the inevitable. What it reminds me of is earlier when we had the tobacco lobbies. And they were fighting against regulation on tobacco. And their motto was, doubt is our greatest ally. So the idea was, as long as people had doubts about whether or not smoking actually caused cancer, which does, then they would continue to buy these products and the industry could continue to profit. And it's the same. There's a lot of people with money invested in oil and natural gas, etc., and they don't want to lose out on their profits. And so they'd rather push this narrative that climate crisis is a hoax. And by that, they can make profit for a longer period of time. I mean, what we're really good at in North America is creating oligarchs, right? Super rich people who control all the wealth of the world. Very small percentage. Anyway, my concern is the future of the planet and humanity. And there's no point us, for example, going to Mars if we totally fuck up this planet. And that's what we're doing. I mean, it's already probably too late to mitigate the negative effects, and extreme weather conditions are only going to get worse. But it's my plan here in this hermitage is to be very environmentally conscious. And that means eventually not relying on things that have to be brought in or manufactured somewhere else, things that would increase the carbon footprint. But not only that, then things like plastics. Right, so a lot of roofing materials, etc., are made out of plastics. Metal's not so bad because metal rots down, right? It doesn't cause huge amounts of problems. Of course, it's painted, but really it's better if I can use natural wood, natural products from the forest. And when these rot down, they just go back into the soil and they nourish it. So I'm going to attempt to make my first shake here. Now, I've been told that it's good if you can bind up the log so it doesn't fall apart when you're cutting it up. So I've got a bungee here, this might help. And I've got two tools. I bought these from Lee Valley, so they're brand new. Thing is, I was in retreat, right, for 8 years, and when I went into retreat, I got rid of all my tools and all my possessions, so I have nothing. But to my mind, although these are expensive, they're quality tools. I think the fro is about $100 or more. But considering the cost of buying sheets of roofing material and how much I can produce with these two tools, then it's well worth it. You can make your own fro out of a car spring, like a suspension spring out of an old car. You can use that because it's tempered metal and you can create a really good fro out of that. But you know, everything's a compromise, right? For example, I'm here on my own, and sometimes I just have to make compromises. For example, I have bought some bolts and screws and that sort of thing. But I have started using pegs, because pegs can come from the maple trees in the forest. But, you know, eventually I will have help. I won't be working on my own forever, right? But for the meantime, let's see how we get on. So the first thing you need to do is look for a natural crack in the wood. And we can see there's one there. I suppose we'll do this in one. And we're going to try and insert the furrow in that. And what you need to do is hammer it into the edge of the log first, until you can get it to split. Wow, that's really tough. Really, I should have started with a smaller log for my first attempt. And the other problem is that I left these for quite a long time. It's better if they're a little bit fresh. So really you want to get it in the edge, and then you want to pry it with the furrow to split it open. Well, things are getting pretty desperate here. I think I chose far too big a log for my first attempt. Now I've made my first split. I think in future I might take these big logs and put them on the sawmill and do them with the mill. It's going to be easier. Okay. Now we want to cut a shingle about 3/4 of an inch in width, if we can split that. Okay. Once you got it started, then it's much easier. That one cut pretty easy. There we go. What you want to do is you want to trim this one a little bit. You can see where its tendency to split out or flare is. And if you can just level it off using the furrow, and you can get a nice even shingle. And that splits out nicely now. Okay, I guess it's just once you get it started. And then we have to do the other one the opposite side. Let's see if we can use the traditional furrow mallet now. Really, this isn't the best log because it's got a lot of branches in it. And it's always more difficult to split out the branches. There we go. Split it. And we got to try to split off the edge a bit, make it even. Okay, now we just got to go around the log and make it into a Terry's chocolate orange. From here we can just split it in half again, if it'll go. Well, it's like this with any job you do. You start off, you're a beginner. You got to make a balls up of it first before you learn to perfect your skills. I think after I've made a few thousand of these, I'll probably have the hang of it. Actually, once you get going, it's not too bad. We should get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 28 of shingles out of there. 28 shakes. Tip works quite well. Okay. Try using the tip. That's it. That's got a branch in it. That's not going anywhere. That's the first tip of the day. Use the tip. Use the end third of the froe. Okay, we're nearly getting there. And we can start cleaning up some of these shingles. So that one there, we took off the inner edge. That means on the next one, we need to take off the face opposite. There we go. And then the opposite side on the other one. Now, of course, this is only for a sawmill shed, so it's not like something you're going to live in. Means we can get away with it not being so accurate. Might be able to make 2 out of that one. Okay. Shingles are a bit thick. We can get these on the shave horse when I'm finished and tidy them up. Have a big pile of rough shingles, rough shakes, and then clean them up on the shave horse. Now there's a branch here. We'll try to split it using the splitting wedge. I don't think it'll go though. Give it a try. There we go. Managed to split that. I don't know what good it'll be, but I'll try. Okay. In future, I've got to make these a little bit thinner, but we can thin them out, shave them up on the shave horse. Might try to split that one in half. That's a big one. Split that in half. The thing about this kind of work is that it's very therapeutic. I mean, in a way, it doesn't matter if you completely balls the whole thing up. As long as you enjoy the process. And like, it's free, right? If I go to the gym, I've got to pay a subscription. If I sit here splitting up this log, at very least I've got some kindling for the fire, if I cock the whole thing up. But hopefully I'll get some shingles. On top of that, it's going to make me feel healthy and happy. And I have a sense of accomplishment. Even if I'm not a real craftsman. Now there's another branch here. I'm going to have to use the splitting wedge, I think. eventually, when we've got a little community going here, then I can have people doing this in their spare time. We can make thousands of shingles together and have the sense of satisfaction that we created something together. We created something together. And it's beneficial for the human spirit, for the body, and for the world. Okay. That one, when the branch in, it's not going to be much use, but anyway. Be very good kindling, that's for sure. Don't use that, wreck my fro. And now I'm starting to get the hang of it. And I only had to waste one log for it. And the nice thing about cedar shingles is that cedar is very rot resistant. It means it'll last for many years. Those ones with the branches aren't much use. All right, let's just see what our first stack of shakes looks like. So what you see there is we've got some uneven looking shakes, but we can trim those up and then put them on the shave horse. So this little tool here is called a side axe or carpentry axe, and you use it for shaving. And we can get a pretty straight edge on this if we use that axe. Also, I can use it to shave the shingle, make it more level. Really, this log isn't the ideal log for shakes because it's got a lot of twist in it. It's got a lot of twist in it, and it's also got lots of branches in it. Like I say, I'll put it on the shave horse, use the spoke shave, the draw knife, and they'll be quite useful. They're quite rustic, but they'll certainly do the job for a sawmill shed, right? We're not going to be living in there. Just to keep the area a little bit dry. And also so I can do some milling when it's raining. You can see a few knots in there. I was looking at the traditional Korean roofs that used to have on peasants' houses in the mountains, and they're much rougher than these ones. They're literally like chunks of bark with stones on them to hold them down, and they used to live in those. So really, I think these shingles, once I get them tidied up a bit, then they'll be fine. We'll keep the place dry. That axe works really nice, but it's a little bit heavy for this kind of work. split that off. That's better. Well, not too bad. So later I'll show you how we can clean these up on the shave horse. Got to build the shave horse first. But for now, I can just tidy these up a bit. That's the bit we split off. These things are no good, they're too thin, but they'll burn well. Tell you what, I could sit here and do this all day long. Maybe with a little cup of tea or something. Some nice homemade biscuits. Bit difficult right now because I'm looking after my parents, so I only have 1 day a week here. But eventually, when the community is running, then it'll just be meditate, a little bit of work, make some food, make the odd video, try to raise some money to help feed people, pay for their hospital bills. But we could make quite a nice little community here. But what the community depends on is the people that are in it. That's the most important thing. You've got to find really stable individuals. People who aren't going to make trouble. People who are emotionally stable and are interested in dedicating themselves to their practice. And then everything will go really smoothly, right? Bit of manpower means if anybody needs help, we can do something about it. If you got people who don't need worldly distractions, right? Basically, their interest is in developing insight on the spiritual path. They don't need to spend time scrolling on social media or doing network games with their friends. Just need a bit of nourishing food and the space to practice and turn their attentions inwards. And those sort of people aren't likely to make much trouble. Really, anybody who knows how to make shakes is going to be laughing at me. I'm doing a terrible job here. That's my first time. I like to approach things a bit the way Elon Musk makes rocket ships. Got to destroy a few things first figure out how it works. I think that's a good way of doing it. This will be okay for a small shake. I mean, many people think I hate Elon Musk, and I don't hate him at all. In fact, I feel quite sorry for him. I feel sorry for billionaires in general. Very, very rich people are seldom happy. I mean, he tries to put on a happy face, but he's clearly not a happy individual. And he's messed up by spending too much of his time on social media. He's deranged by his algorithmic drift. And clearly he's full of contradictions. But I don't hate him for it. I don't dislike him for it. I think he started off okay, a little bit messed up. But the more time he spends, more time he invests in his algorithm, the stranger he becomes. And because of that, then he's making a lot of mistakes. But you won't understand that, and you won't see it. It'll take years before you recognize it. Anyway, we won't give Elon a hard time today. He won't listen anyway. He only listens to his own echo chamber. Doesn't have time for people like me. And that suits me fine. You have to let me know if you like these sort of videos. It's quite an easy way to make a video. Just sit here and do a bit of work and talk to yourself. Be easier if I had somebody to make me a cup of tea. One's quite warped. Like I say, in the olden days, their roofs used to be made out of bark with stones on top. Really, we've become very spoilt in the modern world. We need so much luxury. Just not able to tolerate natural living. I love the sounds of the forest. Well, this one's got a branch in it. That's no good. Okay. Wow, I should have split that one off. Oh, I did. Might be able to save it. The thing about all this primitive technology is it takes a lot more time. Like these days, most of the tradesmen in Canada, then they have to invest in all their tools, etc. Tools for doing every sorts of job. That means they have to have a higher overhead. They have to earn more money. So all that happens in the end is you end up working more, having less time. It's kind of a self-perpetuating myth. Really, what we need is more downtime, more quiet time. I mean, that's what we all want, right? That's why when we go on holiday, we go to little quiet beaches and things, because that's ultimately what we want. We want to relax. So the question is, why don't we kind of work in a way in which we're relaxed, right? In a non-toxic way, without always being rushed. Sure, if I put this on a power planer, I could do it very quickly, although I might cut my fingers off. But I can do everything with this axe, and I will pay back the investment I've made in this very quickly. But machines need to be maintained and replaced. They're always breaking down. Suppose we feel like we want to achieve something, get rich, you know, make our first $1 million. In the process, then we kill ourselves, we ruin our health, and then one day you're an old man, your body's broken, you got money, your marriage has failed, your children hate you. In the end, is it worth it? Should you live a short and happy life or a long and miserable life? Which is better? If you enjoy your life while you're alive, while you're still relatively young, then you won't be so concerned about retirement. Retirement is this kind of idea like I suffered all my life, and now it's time to relax. But by the time that comes around, either your investments are failed, you've got cancer, your partner has died, whatever. It's like too late. Why not just live your life and be happy? Anyway, I'm going to stop preaching to you. It's up to you to do with your life what you will. Up to me to do with my life what I will. I have to say, I've wasted a lot of my life. There's no way to get that time back. There's no point worrying about it. You've got to do your best. And also, you should keep your integrity. Don't get this mentality that, well, you just got to cheat a little bit to get by. It really is a dangerous way of thinking. Conduct matters, virtue matters. These days people think, well, it's okay to lie as long as you get away with it. But I, for one, believe in karma, cause and effect. And so I'm convinced that if I lie, if I cheat, then all that's going to come back to me sometime. If not in this life, but in future lives. And we always sit there bemoaning our lot, right? Oh, why am I suffering? Why have I got cancer? Why is this happening to me? It's a terrible way of thinking. It's like, why is it happening to me? Why shouldn't it happen to somebody else, like my neighbor? Do you really want to do that? Well, belief in karma is a recognition that we are responsible for our experiences. And so, as there is nothing we can do about what we did in past lifetimes, what we have to do is apply ourselves to the here and now. Always have love and compassion and kindness for others. And also keep your integrity. It isn't worth it to lie, to cheat, to steal. It will come back on you. If everybody had this way of thinking, what kind of world will we live in? Right? But it's not the way we are. We resent others for their well-being. Look at all these rich people. It's unfair. And then we bemoan our own lot in life. I'm working all day. I've got no time to myself. I can't even afford to pay to feed my children and send them to school. It's not going to get us anywhere. If you want to change the world, it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. It's only con men who tell you they can sort things out in 24 hours. It's not like that. And the only way to make meaningful change in the world is to start with the man in the mirror. You have to change yourself and become an example for others. It's the only way. And cultural inertia is very difficult to change. It takes time. It actually goes bad quite quickly. People gain bad habits. Just a matter of a few years. Politics have become incredibly toxic. And all of our social norms have eroded away. But to make positive change takes real time. It takes time, it takes perseverance. But there's something you learn on the way. If you keep your integrity, if you practice tolerance and compassion for others, then ultimately that brings you joy. Joy and a peace of mind. It's like, well, whatever happens, even if I die, I'm gonna die happy, with no regrets or feelings of guilt, because I did my best by others, by my family, for my country. I did my best not just to add to the problem, but to contribute it in a positive way. And then you'll have a happy life. And eventually, this attitude will spread. It's contagious. If, on the other hand, you just lash out in anger, you become radicalized by your resentment for others, then for you, the world immediately becomes a very dark and unhappy place. And along with that, you also contribute to the suffering of others in a significant and unnecessary way. Wow, that's pretty crooked. Well, I think I've been going on for just about too long right now. I'm just giving you sore ears, giving you a hard time. And besides, I've got to pack up and catch the ferry soon. So I have to make some lunch before I go. But anyway, thank you for sharing your time with me. And joining me while I make my first attempt at handmade shakes. A little bit ugly, but I'm sure in the end they'll do the job. Anyway, until next week then, see you later.